All right, it's great to be here. It's great to be here. So Fully Connected started actually as an experiment 3 years ago. The idea of the Lavanya, who's in the front here. And we were built on a culture of engaging with our users. I think a lot of our success came from really engaging and loving the people on our platform building and deploying AI models. But we were actually built during COVID. So almost all the community work that we were comfortable doing was online. And we thought, what if we had a conference to actually bring people in person together? And I think we underestimated how much work that would be. But what we did worry. I remember really thinking, we respect our users so much and we respect the work that they're doing. Taking someone out of their daily work for a day, and I guess now 2 days for a lot of you, is a really big commitment. It's something that I would be reluctant to do myself. And so we wanted to respect people's time with a conference that actually is a conference we would like to go to. So what that means to us is a practical conference that's for people building and deploying AI, and only those people, and giving them a chance not just to talk to us, but talk to each other and share best practices. And the last two conferences, leading up to it was really stressful, but I think both conferences were incredibly successful. And we thought, for sure, we got to do it again, and looking forward to it. And I actually think that this conference could be even better than the first two, because the promise of AI has increased, and there's lots more people doing AI. But with that increase in the promise of AI, the production issues that we're all facing have also increased. So I think there's a lot to share and a lot to talk about. Also, and we didn't plan this, there's amazing timing with the CoreWeave acquisition. So I don't know if you all heard, but we were acquired by CoreWeave 6 weeks ago. And let me tell you, that made the production of this a lot more stressful, because a lot of us were doing other things while we were trying to plan this conference, and we were thinking about our roadmap. But I love this timing because it gives us a chance to talk to you about the exciting things we can do together. So, like Robin said, I'm going to talk about what's been happening in the market and happening to us over the last year. And then Chen, SVP of Engineering at CoreWeave, is going to talk with me about what we've been building right now for you, and a little bit about our longer-term vision. And then co-founder Chen is going to come on stage and, as usual, talk about our future plans and the big ideas that we're thinking about. So I want to talk about AI in 2025. And everyone says this. It's impossible to be contrarian on this, but I think we should just enjoy it. We are working in the fastest moving, most important market of all time. And we say that every year, and every year it's more true. And so we should just enjoy that. And let's look at some of the things that have happened. Let's see the highlights. I mean, first of all, we all know this, but everything we care about in AI is growing exponentially. Power consumption is growing, model size is growing exponentially, model performance is growing exponentially. But that's really the costs. Let's talk about the benefits. So first of all, every benchmark gets saturated in months. We used to talk about benchmarks, and we used to have them lasting for years. So benchmark is kind of a test of AI in a certain domain. And what keeps happening in every domain is that by the time you get the benchmark ready and you release it, the models do so well on it that it's no longer an interesting benchmark. We're actually struggling now to build benchmarks that models can't do so we can compare their performance. So we're seeing the Turing test pass not just in chat, but in every possible domain. And now you might ask, a lot of people ask, okay, these models work well on these benchmark problems. Maybe they're toy problems. Is this really penetrating enterprise? Is this really working? And I think 2025 is the year where you can't ask that question anymore. So look at Notion. Notion was one of the first companies to bravely launch Gen AI 2 years ago. And I think there was some complaining about it. I was impressed that they got it out, but there was some feedback. I think they didn't get the attach rate they wanted, right? People buying their AI product. But now over half of their new customers buy AI. And that's their new customers. Existing customers use it at even a higher rate than that. And you might say, well, Lukas, okay, that Notion kind of sells to more tech-forward companies. What about more legacy industries? And what's astonishing in 2025 is the adoption rate is higher there. So you talk about medicine, right? Physicians, famously a bad market for startups, right? Incredibly hard to penetrate, all kinds of regulation. within a year of launch, over 1/3 of US physicians are using open evidence for their workflow. Right? This is incredible in one of the toughest industries to get into. And then maybe the one industry harder than medicine for startups is legal. Harvey has been out for under 2 years, and over 1/3 of the 100 top law firms are Harvey customers already. Right? Every industry is using AI in their workflow. And maybe most relevant to this group, and most amazing from my perspective, is the AI coding boom. You know, about 2 years ago, it seemed like an interesting toy. A year ago, you saw Copilot with this phenomenal growth, faster than any other Microsoft product, getting a $300 million in revenue. But boy, in the last year, we've seen the market for these products go to over $1 billion, and an explosion of interesting products. Cursor, which is a Weights and Biases customer, Windsurf, AugmentCode, all Weights and Biases customers, all doing this amazing thing of helping everyone's productivity in this room. Another interesting way of looking at it is the length of task possible increasing. So we've kind of seen this steady doubling every 6 months of the length of useful task that AI can successfully perform, right? So you go back in time, maybe say it could answer a simple question, it count the words in the passage, now maybe find a fact on a web. And I think if you want to dream a little bit, it's kind of getting to the level of an hour or more where that's the time it would take to build a classifier and train it. So we start to talk about AI training itself, and Sean has a lot to say on that. Sean, hopefully you don't feel like I stole your thunder there. All right. And look, not surprisingly, but kind of incredibly, Gen AI is penetrating the workforce, right? This is all people in the US labor force. Over half of them now say that they're using Gen AI as part of their daily job. And I think when you look at these charts, it's maybe hard to experience the changes viscerally as it's really happening. So I kind of want to show you some multimedia examples that are fun. So these are 2 videos of the exact same prompt, Will Smith eating spaghetti. And this is the state of the art 2 years ago, which is kind of interesting, was impressive at the time, but looks like a toy. And then you have it now, where it almost looks like a video someone took of Will Smith. It's hard to even say if this is AI generated or not. Right, this is incredible progress. And then I'm a fan of AI music generation. I've been for a long time, going back decades. You know, you look at 2023, this is kind of interesting, but this is definitely vibe-generated music, right? It's kind of doing what you want, but it's interesting, but it's not exactly what these are asked for. Whereas you go today to a 5-second prompt on Pseudo AI, also a Weights and Biases customer. The promise of agents, the rise of AI. Together we'll reach where stars wait for the hook here. The sky. Oh, the world is changing. All right. So I'm not sure I like that song better, but it's definitely more true to the prompt. And then I look at the coding and vibe coding, as we call it, and you kind of look at these numbers. I'm just coming from an investor conference where people are like, wow, $1 billion in market cap or market share and revenue. That's amazing. But I think it's even bigger than that. I look at, I remember Greg Brockman's announcement 2 years ago where he had GPT generate this kind of simple looking website. And it just seemed amazing that he could ask for a website and it was generated. This is actually 2 years ago. And to now, me and my daughter are vibe coding. And she's 5 years old. So she actually can't read or write. So I'm typing her feedback, but she's saying here, make this game more fun and add some cute animals. Literally, I'm just verbatim typing what she wants. And Sean's daughter also is doing some vibe coding. We have a little bit of a competition for who can make the cooler game with our children. But this is an actual game that she really made and can share with her friends. And I think that kids are going to grow up with this ability to make computers do whatever they want, and it's going to be absolutely incredible, far beyond any amount of dollars that you can assign to it. One more thing that we saw is the first really massive market shifts caused by AI technology. So you might remember DeepSeek came out, and I remember this because I had just signed the CoreWeave deal, and the next day, DeepSeek, just negotiated, I thought it was a great deal. DeepSeek came out, and it showed the power of RL with kind of a new technology, and it cratered NVIDIA stock. $600 billion of market cap wiped out by an interesting technology and launch. But I remember talking with CoreWeave, and I really felt this. One thing that we've seen in AI forever is Jevon's paradox, which is the idea that sometimes when you make something cheaper, people use it so much more that the overall market actually increases. And AI always has this effect. And I think business people learned about this paradox because NVIDIA's stock has obviously taken off since then, and CoreWeave stock obviously doing phenomenally well. And we see more and more people using these products as these companies continuously lower the prices of inference services. Okay, so where is AI going? And I think what's interesting about where AI is going right now is it would actually take a massive change not to see massive improvements in 2025. Right? It would actually be shocking if we don't see incredible breakthroughs. And the first place that I look for breakthroughs is where do we see things that look like that Will Smith video 2 years ago? Where do we see things that kind of look like toys? And one really interesting place that I see it is the real-time generated world. So Odyssey, also a fantastic weights and biases customer, builds these worlds that are generated on the fly. So here I'm like walking through Odyssey's world, and it's generating the world for me. Right, so it's generating these pixels. It doesn't have the same sharpness and clarity of the automatically generated videos, but this is happening in real time as I explore it. I don't know what this is going to mean, but I feel like the games of next year are going to be fantastic, and we're going to explore worlds like we never imagined before. Also, you look at benchmarks that haven't been saturated. Right, Frontier Math is a benchmark of graduate level math problems, and it's at about 20% today, but you can see it starting to take off. A real criticism of Gen AI has been, why haven't we seen math and science breakthroughs completely done by AI? And I think it hasn't quite worked well enough yet, but it's clearly about to. 2025 is definitely going to be the year that we see fully Gen AI science breakthroughs. Another big change that we're seeing is that, and this definitely came from DeepSeek, this is the weights and biases user count of people doing reinforcement learning. So you see the step function change in the amount of weights and biases users doing RL, because RL is really working. I think in 2024, we thought maybe there's going to be a few number of high-quality models every company is going to use. Now, I believe that every tech-forward company is going to build their own models. So we're going to have a big diversity of models out there because RL is not a subtle thing. It works phenomenally well. And of course, we already have agents for basically any application that you want. Another area that's been kind of surprisingly challenging is doing useful tasks in a web browser. And this is also a place where we see things starting to take off. So Web Arena is a challenge to do something useful. It's kind of remarkable that doing something useful in a web browser, like booking a ticket or booking a flight, is tougher than writing code. But this benchmark is at 50% now, and also you see that exponential growth. So clearly, this is the year that we start to offload our day-to-day tasks to AI. And this has made a big change for weights and biases. So we built an MCP server here. And what MCP could do is turn your product into a tool that other agents can use. So now inside of weights and biases, we use Claude sometimes to interact with weights and biases and get insights and custom visualizations. And we expect that we're going to need to rethink everything in terms of agents. And I think you are too. In 2026, most of our APIs are going to be called by agents, not people, not developers. Right? And most of our app interaction is going to be interactions with agents, not humans. So the agent experience is quickly becoming more important than the user experience. Right? We're proud at Weights and Biases of our high-quality APIs that are human-centered. We're proud of our good UIs. But we're going to have to figure out how to make those work for agents, which are a little bit different than human beings. All right. And so we're practical here. The kind of theme of the day is the issues that we're struggling with as we try to get these things into production. And I think the big thing that everyone's struggling with is new levels of scale. Right? We see not just more GPUs, not just orders of magnitude more GPUs, but more people working in Gen AI. Right? More than half the people working in Gen AI today started in the last year, according to these McKinsey graphs on job postings and growth. So we're all learning together. And agents, even more than any other technology before it, they're easy to demo and hard to productionize. Engineering was always like that. AI was always like that. But agents are the most extreme, where every day I see an amazing demo, and then I see it struggle to deploy. So why are agents harder, right? I mean, this technology should make things easier, not harder. Why is this happening? And it's happening, one, because there's new ways for things to go haywire, right? These things are increasingly complicated. They're increasingly non-deterministic systems. They have more ways to break, and we're all figuring out how to control these systems that we fundamentally can't understand at a core level. And expectations of consumers and developers have grown exponentially with the technology. It's absolutely astonishing. I remember not that long ago, we'd be happy with a moderately good translation that would let us talk to someone in a language we didn't know. Now we expect instantly to be able to get a perfect translation of a blurry menu when we're traveling overseas. Right? We used to be happy with grammar correction. Now we want the agents to do all the communication on our behalf and not have to think about writing any kind of memo. And not that long ago, we looked at Stack Overflow for bug fixes. Now we expect AI to not just fix our code, but fix it flawlessly and write the unit tests. But I think the thing that's most constant here, the thing that we see at Weights and Biases, is that the old issues of using AI in production are still issues. So just as a reminder, Weights and Biases was started with this observation that we all had in different ways, which is that software development is this linear, deterministic process, usually, hopefully. And the AI development is much more experimental. Most of the things that you try when you're building AI systems or agentic systems don't see the light of day. They're experiments. And you fundamentally are building on a platform that's non-deterministic, and so you have to try it to understand what's going on. And everything flows for that. And at the same time, like I said, we see this explosion of developers working in the space, so we're all kind of learning this and new. Right? For the first time, we have users that ask us, why would evals be important? Right? Like kind of old ML ops people would never ask, why are evals important? Right? That's a new question that we're getting. And there's more and more things to try. Just the number of models has absolutely exploded for all kinds of different use cases. And so when you're working in this way, you focus on the speed of iteration. Right? It's the bottleneck is how fast can you run these experiments. And you need to track your experiments, right? This is what we kind of started in the beginning. But when you're building these things, these non-deterministic things, and you have more than one person working on it, you need to track what worked and what didn't work. It's just so easy to lose that. And if you're not tracking it, when one of your AI developers leave, and people jump around companies faster now than ever before, all that IP is going to walk out the door. So these aren't new, but the details are new. And I want to tell you a little bit about how Weights and Biases is evolving to serve all of you. I just acknowledge that anyone with like a really specific long-term roadmap of over a year is a bad entrepreneur or a bad product manager, right? You just can't do it in this space, right? You can have themes, but you can't know the specifics. You can't know what's hard and easy. So I want to give you a flavor of our North Star and what we've been launching recently to show you what we're working on. And we always remind ourselves of our mission, right? Our North Star is building for builders, right? It's building for the people that are making AI work in production. We're always listening. We're always looking for ways to make your life easier. And the users have grown. And maybe more importantly, the open source repositories using us have grown, right? So now, far more of the useful Weights and Biases code lives outside of Weights and Biases than inside it, right? It exists in all these open source repos in our ecosystem all over the web. But let me show you what we've been building. So first of all, Models is the product for people that are building foundation models or doing RL or doing fine-tuning, trying to make a custom model work. Right? It's our kind of bread and butter. This is where we started. And we love helping all of you. And the most important thing that you always tell us that we work so hard on, and it's so hard to demo, but I have to mention it, is performance. So every year we have to increase the number of metrics, the number of runs for our customers. Now we can do hundreds of millions of runs over billions of metrics. And maybe we're most proud that we can do full fidelity charts on tens of millions of points, pull that up in an instant so you can see the outliers. Especially important for reinforcement learning. We've also seen a new flavor of training where people like to checkpoint and branch. We didn't even imagine this in 2018 when we started the company. Maybe we imagined it, but we never saw it. Right now, table stakes is to stop the model in the middle and try different hyperparameters along the way. And so we handle rewinding and forking as a first-class citizen in the Weights and Biases dashboard. And there's lots and lots of quality of life improvements. Unified console logs for distributed training can really help you if you're trying to debug an issue that came up. We have synchronized zooming. We have semantic run colors so you can attach meaning to the run so you can do faster analysis. We have direct panel sharing, which helps with collaboration so you can quickly show a colleague a full-page plot of something that you care about. We have a revamped run comparer where you can see the differences and all the different things that you tried over a bigger scale. We have enhanced video and media analysis as multimodal training becomes table stakes for everyone building a model. We have new alerts and metric notifications where you can set up logic to alert you in your Slack channel or wherever you're living if something's going wrong inside of your training. And we've revamped our registry. And this is a big deal, right? This is where you can store your data sets, store your models, store all the things that you care about. And as AI becomes more and more critical inside of companies, we see more and more users using this. So there's a governance piece of this and a collaboration piece of this, and I think they're both linked. Our perspective is you want both to work well together. So on a governance perspective, we've added access controls for really large teams, right? Bigger than we ever expected, right? It's not just the AI team inside a company that cares about AI, and so we want everyone to have appropriate access, especially in our larger enterprises. But at the same time, now you struggle to find the things that you care about. So we've added discoverability and search via the UI and also via the API, knowing that it's going to be agents searching the registry in the future. All right, so let's talk about Weave. So Weave is our product that actually Sean launched at our last Fully Connected 1 year ago. And it's the product for people using AI models. And we've been rapidly iterating on this with all of you. And I feel like now we can tell you that Weave supports the full Gen AI workflow, right? So it starts with prototypes, it starts with experimentation, and then it turns into evals, and then it turns to monitoring and production. I think one of the insights that we had is that you want to take the data from your users in production and feed that back into your experiments and feed that back into playing around with individual things. You want to try counterfactuals in the playground. That feedback experimental loop is just critical to success, and it's a core way that we think about improving Weave. And of course, knowing what's going on, both in aggregate and in the specific, is critical. So we spend a lot of time on these visualizations. But we also spend a lot of time on letting you try things. So we have a playground where you can look at counterfactuals, like what would my agent have done if it had a different prompt at this point? And now you can say, what would your agent have done if you inserted your custom model somewhere? So you can do that anywhere. You can build custom model endpoints. We also have a revamp of our traces UI. So a year ago, when we launched Weave, a typical flow would be an LLM that makes a couple of calls, right? Maybe it's like a RAG pipeline where it does a lookup, and then it does a call. It'd be like 3 or 4 things in a row, right? So we'd have a stack trace of that. Now with agents, people are trying to have thousands of different things asynchronously talking to each other, and it's way harder to debug what's going on. And so we're hard at work making our UI support the developers that are trying to get agents into production. We've also spent a lot of time on making it possible to build custom data sets over things that you've collected as your model is running in production, right? So you can take difficult examples annotated by your users or maybe annotated by an in-house annotation team or maybe LLM as a judge and pull them back into Weave and use them for various things. Related, we've built guardrails with some of our most paranoid customers that help you handle things like hallucination, bias, toxicity, but also every customer has something that they care about that's unique to them. So you can use our state-of-the-art guardrails out of the box. You can also customize them for the specific thing that you're worried about. Of course, we've added image, audio, and video support. This is table stakes for everything that everybody does today. We've added long-requested open telemetry support so that we're compatible with other observability tools that someone might be using. And we've added flexible evaluation APIs. It's always been a core theme for us to integrate with our customers' software in the most flexible, simple way. And now we think that we have the easiest integration LLM observability product on the market. Save views was a much-loved feature for models that we ported over. So this is a way to take a visualization or take some insight and save it for yourself, but also share it with teammates. And AI is increasingly a team sport. These collaboration features increasingly important. And then finally, we're launching online evaluations today, which is an awesome feature where you can actually configure monitors to score traces in real time. So as data flows in, you can do something, for example, like use LLM as a judge to measure the truthiness of something you're returning to a customer. So you can add these things as you care about different metrics on data running in real time, monitored by the Weave platform, and get insights on it. So hopefully this is a flavor of the things we're launching. We have some more launches coming. But one more big thing that happened in the last year that I want to talk about is we were acquired by CoreWeave. And so I wanted to invite Chen, the SVP of engineering at CoreWeave, on stage to talk about this and talk about some of the things we're building together.
Thank you, Lukas. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's so great. It's so great that we could have you. So I'll say from my perspective, CoreWeave is a company that we'd long admired. It's the leading AI cloud, and it's actually had incredible growth. It's like one of the fastest growing companies of all time because they provide infrastructure to the most exciting companies on the planet. And I would say, when I first talked to CoreWeave, actually throughout talking to them, they're at the last 2 Fully Connected conferences. So we've known them for a while. And I think that if any company has the right to be proud of themselves, maybe even arrogant, CoreWeave has that right. I mean, literally, I would not blame them. I'd respect it. But what I've found is...
You can definitely learn a lot about how Lukas think about it. Like we said, arrogant. He also said that we are not cool enough.
So I did tell Hen that I could make CoreWeave cooler. And I think Hen responded, "Fuck you, we are cool," which I loved. Maybe I'm not the best company salesperson. But I think actually what I would say about the coolness, I think we do a similar thing that we authentically connect with one audience, AI developers. And I think we're cool to AI developers, and we're certainly not cool to anyone else. And I think that CoreWeave has done an amazing job of authentically connecting with infrastructure teams at these same companies and is cool to that audience. So we both have this focus. We're both cool within our niches, and hopefully bring us together. We can be cool to a broader audience of infrastructure teams and AI developers,
yes.
Which hopefully is all you. And so I would say, one more thing that I really appreciate about CoreWeave is a similar culture of value. So one thing that I asked my friends, what's it like to get acquired? And everyone told me, Lukas, when you get acquired, expect all momentum to stop for a quarter or two. And that's actually terrifying. That idea that you'd stop shipping products for a quarter or two in this space right now would be a disaster.
And full disclosure, that was also my worry. We're going to acquire weights and biases, and our velocity will go down.
And we have a value at Weights and Biases that we actually make our Wi-Fi password. We call it Gumption. And CoreWeave, I went to their IPO party, and they had these neon signs over that said LFG. And I was like, oh, okay. We're going to make some stuff. And so in the last...
We're not going to spell it out, but yeah.
Yeah. L stands for let's, go stands for go. And so I think actually our collective iteration speed has actually increased in the last couple of weeks, and you'll see it in some of the stuff they're launching right now. So Hen, would you like to tell us about CoreWeave?
Yes, of course. So like Lukas mentioned, CoreWeave is the AI cloud. And if you come to CoreWeave cloud platform, you will see things that you would expect to see with any cloud. You have the cloud console, you have billing, you have telephone provider. But what you will also see, and something is actually under the hood, is that we were able to be intentional with every decision we've made in building that stack. So if we take this diagram, for example, and just giving some example from the bottom, our data centers are super dense and liquid cooled, really ready for the latest and greatest GPUs. We have high-performing networking, high-performing storage. Our Kubernetes service is running on bare metal. And that's important when you want to get it to peak performance, especially for AI workloads. And going up the stack, just maybe the last example, we have our own service called Slurm, which is Slurm on Kubernetes. And what it does, it takes the experience of Slurm that all HPC developers are used to, and it's bringing it to the cloud-native world, giving both modern tools for management and a fungibility of resources. So really, we are really focusing on everything that AI workloads need in order to build the best stack. And maybe the crown jewel, the thing that we are most proud in, is mission control. Think about it like a groundbreaking cluster health management system. What it does, it monitors all the services, or all the infrastructure and jobs, and it feeds into a proactive automation engine. And that really keeps the clusters up and running with the best performance today in the market. And what was cool, just bringing the teams and the product together, it felt really natural. We keep talking about, Lukas talks about building and tools. And at CoreWeave, we feel it's an honor to serve all of you, to see what's possible. And maybe today it's platform engineering teams and researchers, but In 5 years, it will be like 5th graders that are going to build new tools. So literally, Lukas said that our velocity actually accelerated. Literally, the second day after we closed, we had teams already working together. So really excited to tell you what we've been working on. But before we do, I know that some were concerned about, like, hey, what will that acquisition mean to Weights & Biases' commitment to work across multi-clouds and on-premises? This is not foreign to CoreWeave. Okay? Today, we know that flexibility and interoperability is super critical if you want to achieve fast agility and just really fueling that rich ecosystem. So we will continue to support Weights & Biases on other clouds and on premises. Okay, now let's get to the fun part. So remember CoreWeave Mission Control, the crown jewel? We know failures are inevitable in this new world. And some of it is because we push systems to their max. The technology stack is super complicated. So another design principle of ours is to be failure ready. Okay, we know that failures are inevitable, and then the question is how quickly we can mitigate them. And not only we do that, and we make sure that we have the right plumbing to have all the data and metrics flow up and down the stack, we make it accessible to everybody. So we don't hold the data with us. I think, again, very much aligned with Model and Weave. We make it accessible to all our users. Today, we're super excited to make that available to Weights & Biases model users. So when you train on Weights & Bias on CoreWeave, models automatically pull all the data from mission control and the insight, and you can actually see an overlay of what's happening in the infrastructure and what actions the CoreWeave team has taken. And we really hear from a lot of customers about it. How do I know? Can I rerun? Okay, can I restart my job? Should I open a bug? Should I maybe do something else? Maybe it's a problem with my own model. Okay, maybe I should do some kind of fine-tuning. And really the ability to have this easily discover infrastructure issues and knowing how they impact my job really accelerate debuggability. So now we want to keep it real. I'm really honored to invite Chris, one of the co-founders of Weights & Biases, to a demo. Okay, so here what we can see is a large training model, training over multiple days. And really, with these long runs, you can run into infrastructure issues. So now with our new integration, you can see on the screen that we are actually displaying what kind of alerts are happening. And if you click on one of them, there is a new pop-up that I hear on the right that you can really read what are the issues that we are seeing. And in this case, what we are seeing is the CPU throttle long error, which can mean that there is maybe a power issue or something with a thermal node issue, and it can really cause to slowness of the job. From here, we can also dive deeper into the run. And this view I really like because it's really that overlay of the metrics from the run together with the alerts. And if we go into the perf MFU and really just zoom in where we see the alert with this red icon, what we can see that really a little bit before we fire the alert, we see that the performance really went down. And of course, you shouldn't be worried about it because we got you covered. You can see in the message that this is one of the errors that we are automatically taking care on your behalf. That means that we detected this issue, and we're going to replace the node with a healthy one without you doing anything, and you can just simply restart the job. In case that maybe you need some more help, you want to talk with your platform engineering team, there's sometimes friction between teams, right? Like I see that, it's on your end, it's my end, it's the network. So in this case, we've also added a Grafana dashboard that gives you to the existing dashboard that we have today, which means that here, this is the platform engineering team view. You can see all the nodes, all the errors, but also the job name and the user. And you can see here at the bottom, I have the tables of all the alerts. I can see the firing of the alert issue. But also, if I zoom in, I can actually see the drop in the FP8 flops here going a little bit from 500 to 90. So this is really, really powerful and making sure that you can debug things quicker. Cool. Thank you so much. Okay, and this was not, and by the way, like full story, so we know we came together the second day. There were 3 ideas of what we can launch in 6 weeks. And me being the conservative I am, I was like, okay, we will target one. Sean said, we're going to do all 3. I'm like, okay. So we did. So this
Although it's funny because I remember when I told Hen that we were going to do a recorded demo for safety, she kind of questioned our startup credibility. So we brought Chris on stage to do a real demo.
So today, we are super excited. One of the things that we can do when we have a cloud under the hood is to introduce weights and biases inference.
So this is super exciting. This is inference that you can access through weights and biases powered by CoreWeave backend. So you don't have to manage multiple accounts or self-deploy models. If you log into weights and biases, you can just pick one of these models and run inference immediately through the Weave playground or through an OpenAI compatible API. And actually, all weights and biases plans now include credits, so you can start experimenting right now.
Right now, but like wait until the keynotes. So what we are launching today with 6 open source LLMs, from the highly intelligent DeepSeek R1 to the quick one, 5.4 mini for quick and fast inference. And you can try them out in the playground. And also, what we've edited, you have the ability to compare the models side by side, really accelerating your development process. Like this example. And what's really important, really think about the friction, is that the weights and biases inference service has an OpenAI compatible endpoint, which means that you can easily switch within your AI apps to the weights and biases inference simply by replacing the base URL. And you can also rerun your OpenAI calls by changing the models or prompts. So let's just see an example of how that looks like. So here we're trying to classify a buyer intent. And it should result with intent low. But what you can see is that here in this example, the intent was medium by 5.4 mini. So we're going to the playground, and we're going to try and change it to a DeepSeek R1 model. And what you can see in this example, again, we are using the same trace log. And in this example, DeepSeek R1 correctly achieved the intent low in this example. So super easy. And now, go ahead.
And now, our co-founder, Sean Lewis, talk about the future.
Woo!
All right.